What's going on, everybody? Sorry I'm a little bit late. Been a crazy, crazy day. Didn't have time to shoot and edit a video on this crazy news today, so I decided I'll just come and bring you a live stream. So I apologize. I wanted to try to hop on at 10 o'clock, but I'm not even at my own house for this. My wife had to go to bed because she has to get up really early in the morning. So I came next door to my in-laws' house. They are not home. They're out of town. So I said, you know what? I will use this opportunity to do a live stream in an empty house where I have some peace and quiet and I'm not interrupting anybody. So anyway, what's up, everybody? Obviously, the news of the day, we all know what it is. USC and UCLA to the Big Ten is official, ladies and gentlemen. This had been rumored for a while now. After the Texas and Oklahoma news broke almost a year ago, a lot of people were saying the Big Ten is going to react next, and they may add USC and UCLA. You know, no one knew whether that was actually true or not. Well, today we found out, by gosh, it is. John Wilner was the first to report it. A lot of people didn't know if it was true. Within just a few hours, it became official, and now it is official. And I think they're scheduling a press conference for tomorrow to talk about it. And by the way, I may have a guest joining me here in a few minutes. I'm not sure, 100% sure yet if he's going to make it, but if he does, it'll be even better. Let's see who's in the chat right now. Hearing the news today gives me hope. Snow Lord 1999 gives me hope one of the 3 Power 5 conferences come calling for us. I agree. Or the Big 12, does the Big 12 become one of the Power 3? Eric LaShore, there's still hope for WVU in the ACC. I agree. Or what about WVU in the SEC? Just food for thought, okay? Not saying it's happening. It's just something I'd love to see happen. I think Pac-12 will dissolve. I agree, Scotty B. Michael Beers, what's up? What's up, Michael? Thanks for hopping on here. Scotty B, Baylor King. Everybody go check his channel out. He does a lot of Baylor stuff. Don't be shocked if Washington, Oregon go to the Big Ten too. I agree with that. That could be the next shoe to drop. Josh Critchfield, I've seen it coming. D5 Terp says Notre Dame is not going to the ACC. No reason to. 0. The expanded playoff makes it easier for them. The ACC with its horrible contract is done. Here's my thing, though, D5 Terps. Notre Dame is in a contract with the ACC. They are in the ACC in every sport except football. They are conference members of the ACC. Here's my guest, Outlaw College Football. What's up, JPC?
How's it going, brother?
Thank you for hopping on last minute.
Yeah, just running a little late.
Well, I was late too, so I'm just now getting started, really.
Okay.
Real quick, tell everybody where they can find you.
Well, I'm Outlaw College Football on YouTube. I'm also on Twitter at OCF Productions, and I'm on Facebook under Jesse Paul Clark if you just want to holler at me on there. Excuse me.
Yeah, everybody go check his channel out. He covers a lot of course, he's an Alabama fan, but he also does a lot of just college football in general, a lot of stuff on Oklahoma, a lot of USC, just anything that's major news across college football. I think he did a video today about this topic, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
didn't you?
I jumped on real quick and done a real quick one, normally quicker than what I usually do. Usually I try to, get a little more in depth with something like this, but it was such a last minute thing, man. It just caught me off guard a little bit.
Yeah, well, same with me. I mean, I'm not even in my house. I've been crazy busy today. This news broke. I was traveling for work for my actual, my normal job, my full-time job, and my day job, I guess you could say.
I mean, we actually got some normalcy about us.
Well, I don't know about normal, but yeah, I try to have some normalcy, and got a lot of stuff going on at my house, and it's just been a crazy day. So I wasn't able to do a video, so I thought I'll just do a live stream. And it's kind of late Eastern time, but may actually be good because I don't know if anybody else is doing one right now. So
yeah, I might have a little crud going on here, so I have to clear my throat a few times. I still got that crud going on.
We don't care. We had Dana Holgerson here for 8 years, brother. Don't worry about it. You ever hear one of his press conferences?
I don't remember.
He cleared his throat about every 30 seconds.
Well, I'm gonna be pulling a Dana tonight, probably.
That's all right. I actually do it quite often myself, so because I have a lot of allergy issues. But anyway, D5 Terps was on here. We were talking about obviously the big news, USC and UCLA. It's official now. I don't know if you knew that or not. Did
Well,
you
I'm
hear
glad
that?
it is because some people got me a little paranoid. You know, you'll try to break on a story,
Yeah,
and then you'll come out that maybe it wasn't accurate. That always gives you a bad feeling because you don't want people thinking that you're just throwing shit against the wall.
exactly. Yeah, and it actually became official maybe an hour and a half ago. I think the news broke that it's official, and they're actually supposed to hold a press conference tomorrow. USC has already posted the Big Ten logo on their website. That's how quick this
Well,
thing's
I
moving.
told Jonathan, and he disagreed with me a little bit, but I really think that this is more of a gut punch to the Pac-12 than Texas and Oklahoma leaving the Big 12. I think that this is going to probably be the end of the Pac-12.
Well, the timing of it, I think, is what hurts because the Big 12 had some time to recover. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know that the Pac-12 will because what's going to happen, the SEC made first move, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now the Big Ten is responding to that move. The Pac-12 doesn't have a lot of options left. See what I mean? Because nobody's leaving the SEC or the Big Ten.
The only
So
teams that I could think of with a big enough market to maybe offset some of that would be San Diego State or maybe UT San Antonio because San Antonio is a big market.
mhm.
But I just don't see it, man. I think that they're going to take these two teams and later on down the road, they're probably going to take Oregon and Washington as well.
Yeah, that's what somebody had mentioned in the chat a minute ago that Oregon and Washington are probably the next two dominoes to fall. Somebody had mentioned some news source today actually mentioned on Twitter that the Big Ten is not done. So, and I actually wrote down a list here for anybody who's interested. We all know the Big Ten makes that AAU status a big deal, right? They say it's required,
Yeah,
unless you're
yeah,
Notre Dame. Unless you're Notre Dame, of course, they would make an exception for them. Here are the only schools left. Obviously, I'm not counting. Nobody's leaving the Big Ten. I'm sorry, nobody's leaving the SEC for the Big Ten, right? Because they're kind of equals. Some could even say the SEC's a little above the Big Ten, depending on who you are. So I took the Big 12, the Pac-12, and the ACC, and I jotted down all the teams in those three conferences that are AAU accredited, okay, that are left. And most of these wouldn't make sense. In the ACC, you've got Duke. Terrible market. Bad football team. No, I mean, nobody wants – I mean, they have a great basketball program, but we all know football moves the needle.
Real quick,
Yeah.
maybe send Jonathan a message or something. Tell him to link this out in the groups because I did that for him earlier today.
Okay.
When he was doing a live stream on CTS, I linked it out for him. So if you want to tell him to link the shit out for us, we might be able to get some more people up in here for you.
Okay. I'll do that.
What happened to the Alliance? I thought they were supposed to be kumbaya and they were going to protect each other. And, then the ACC come running over there and hit up under the little skirts. And all of a sudden it's just like, nah, we just playing. We're going to take your teams. I'm like, what's up with that?
Yeah, really. That alliance was about as strong as the paper it was written on.
I remember a couple of media outlets or talking heads saying that it was loosely knit. And I'm like, how do they know that? But obviously they heard something, some rumblings and whatnot, that it really wasn't that big of it was just for show to try to offset the SEC a little bit, which didn't work.
That's all they're doing. But I'm going to read off this list real quick. Duke, obviously we know Duke's got a terrible football program. No, I shouldn't say terrible, but not a very good football program. UVA, Virginia, do you think they were going to move the needle for the Big Ten?
No.
North Carolina? Maybe
North Carolina.
Maybe.
I think North Carolina's got AAU, don't they?
They do. Yeah, these are all the AAU schools that all the ones I'm reading. Georgia Tech?
Atlanta. That's a pretty big market.
Yeah. That's the only thing I could see them, and it seems like that's what's moving the needle now is they want teams in big markets. So Georgia Tech I could see as a feasible. I haven't really heard any rumors about them, but geographically, but we all know geography makes – I mean, think about this. You're going to have Rutgers playing USC in the same conference.
Maybe. And they might end up getting more teams and having a Western division.
Yeah, good point.
What
Pitt is AAU accredited.
I'm thinking that maybe they might. Maybe this was a ploy by USC and UCLA to force everybody else's hand. Maybe they had some kind of meeting and they were all like, "No, we don't want to merge with the Big Ten." So maybe USC and UCLA is forcing their hand now.
Yeah.
Because somebody told me that USC was like endowed or something. I can't remember the term they used with Stanford. That Stanford actually funded their renovations of the Coliseum and stuff, and that Stanford has some kind of like connection to them, like they're in charge of their finances or something. I can't remember exactly what it was, but
right.
I think the Oregon guy that Jonathan had on his podcast, I can't remember his name. He had said that USC could not go anywhere without Stanford.
Interesting. And I was talking to Tony Altimore earlier. He's the data guy that is on all these channels. He's been on my channel, but he's a USC grad. So I asked him if he had any inside connections, and he said he didn't know anything. But he said he was surprised that UCLA would leave without Cal.
Exactly, they're in the same system. They're in the same system.
Right,
University of Cal system.
Yeah,
the University of California at Los Angeles, University of California at Berkeley. It's just like here in Alabama, UAB, and you got UAH in Huntsville.
Yeah. It makes you wonder, could Cal be part of the next domino?
Yeah, Cal and Stanford, maybe.
Yeah, potentially. Now, if that happens, they're definitely going to die because then you lose all your California schools. Now let's go to the only school left in the Big 12 that's AAU accredited is Kansas. And we all know, I mean, they're a great basketball program, but they might be the worst football program in the country as far as Power 5 goes anyway.
Although they showed some signs of life last year, right?
They did. I mean, I think they're getting better. And I do think Lance Leopold's going to get them back to being competitive, at least.
He will. And then someone will come along and steal them away.
But I don't know that they move the needle for the Big Ten.
Lawrence ain't that big of a town. It's not a big media market.
Now the Pac-12,
maybe they were located in Topeka. Maybe it would make a difference. I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, the Pac-12 now you've got Stanford, Cal, Washington, Utah, Arizona, Colorado, and Oregon are all AAU accredited. So pretty much everybody in the Pac-12, with the exception of Washington State and Oregon State and Arizona State.
Them schools right there. I talked to John Kurtz about this earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Those schools, I think, are going to end up getting pushed down to a second tier, maybe like a modern day Division I AA. See that happening to those schools because they're not very big programs as far as stadiums and whatnot.
Yeah. By the way, everybody, please hit the like button for me while you're on here. Don't forget to do that. It helps get this.
You got super chats on here?
Yeah, should have. And everybody, everybody. If you want me to see your chat, I got a pretty good number of people on here now. So, if you can, if you want me to see your chat, make sure I see it. I mean, I'm gonna try to see them all, but to make sure I don't miss it,
if y'all get Kui's $50 worth of super chats, I'll get on here and sing Country Roads next time. $50.
Thank you. Let's see what chats I might have missed. I know we were talking about Notre Dame. One guy says that Notre Dame is not going to the ACC, but here's what people don't understand, I don't think. And I'm not saying I know all the details, but from what I've read, first of all, Notre Dame's in the ACC in every sport except football already.
That's right.
So they can't just leave without paying a huge penalty. And they're locked in until 2036. That's 14 years that they would have to pay. Right?
Is there a way for them to get out of that 2036 deal?
I don't know.
Because the ACC is going to kill itself for that deal. Everybody starts expanding and stuff, and they're just there. I mean,
well, it makes me wonder too. Notre Dame is probably regretting that move now, I would imagine.
Well, since they don't have football in the mix, their buyout may not be as big, right?
Well, that's possible. And I did read somewhere, sorry guys, my internet seems to be acting up a little bit. But yeah, I read somewhere that they could leave. They could back out of the ACC deal in football and they would only have to do the buyout in other sports, which would likely be smaller.
A lot smaller.
And Notre Dame does have a lot of money, so it's possible.
Your team's caught right in the middle, man, just like they are geographically. Y'all are right in the middle of everything. You're in the Big 12, but you're in the middle of Big 10 and SEC borders.
Right.
And everybody keeps talking about, and I know a lot of West Virginia podcasters out there have been talking about that West Virginia is going to the ACC eventually. I'm not too sure I'd want to go to the ACC if I was them. I think I would try to get in the Big 10 or the SEC.
I agree. I mean, I would love to play Pitt and Virginia Tech again every year, but my theory is I don't think the ACC is stable either because of what we were talking about just a minute ago. That contract they've got is terrible.
That's what I'm saying. I think that
we may actually be better off staying in the Big 12 if we don't have any other options.
I know those are y'all's old rivalries, but because of where West Virginia's at geographically, they can easily make different rivalries because they're border state with Ohio, right?
Yes.
West Virginia, Ohio State every year. Man, you can't tell me you wouldn't enjoy that.
I would.
West Virginia and Kentucky in basketball, even football, because Kentucky's getting a lot better in football.
Right.
West Virginia is not a border state with Tennessee, but
pretty close.
Those three states, man, they're a lot alike geographically.
Yeah, I mean, I can be to Tennessee from my house in 3 hours. Less than 3 hours, actually. Uh-oh. We lost JPC for a second. But D5 Turk says, Virginia Tech, Pitt, Syracuse, BC, Louisville to the Big 12. Hey, I would love that, man. I would love it. The problem is these schools in the ACC, because of that huge contract they've got where they're locked into 2036, man, the buyout of that contract would be enormous. Can you imagine having to buy out a contract for 14 years? I mean, that's just – I don't know how any of these teams in the ACC could ever get out of it. I really don't. I really, really don't. All right. Let me see. Michael Beer says, why does everyone WVU wants to go to the ACC for? Just asking. Because of our rivalries, Michael. We got, Pitt's our old rival, Virginia Tech. We'd love to be able to play those guys again. Syracuse, Boston College, Miami. We were on the old Big East together, and a lot of people would love to see those rivalries renewed. And two, geographically, man, it just makes sense. Fans can go to games easier. The teams can travel easier. Just makes more sense. Is really the only reason. It's time for West Virginia to leave the Big 12. A West Virginia guy, maybe. I think it all depends on the money, man. If they can make more money in another conference, then yes. Or if they get invited. I mean, they have to be invited to another conference. They can't just up and leave. And to be perfectly honest with you, I think the more chaos, the more likely it is that West Virginia ends up as a Power 5 school or Power whatever, because they're not going to be in the top 2 or 3, I don't think, of most conferences' wish list. But they might be in the top 4 or 5 of a conference's wish list. So if these super conferences end up being 30, 32 teams, then I think West Virginia's got a really good chance of being one of those teams. If it's only 20 teams, I don't know. We could potentially get left out. I don't think we would, but we could. A little bit on Wisconsin. Let's go Big 10. What's up, Christian? Thanks for hopping on, man. Everybody, please make sure you hit that thumbs up button for me, please. And if you want to make sure I see your chat, please drop me a super chat. I think it's right where it says it'll say chat or say something, and there's a little dollar sign there. You hit that, put your chat in there. It moves your chat to the top and highlights it where I can see it better. Wisconsin, man. Wisconsin sitting pretty right there in the Big 10, man. No doubt. I hear you. However, if enough teams want out, that grant of rights won't hold. No conference to hold it. That's possible, Terps. That's very possible. I don't know enough about those grant of rights agreements from a legal perspective to be able to give you a firm answer on that. If WVU holds tight, they'll find themselves with some traditional rivalries in the Big 12. That's very true. Very true. It could happen if the ACC crumbles. Look, I know one of the things that could happen now is the Big 12 and Pac-12 could potentially merge and form their own super league. I don't think that'll happen because I don't think the Pac-12 is going to want to merge with the Big 12 because they have totally different cultures and totally different academic standards and things like that. But if that happens, I don't know that I would want West Virginia to be a part of that because, the travel is already brutal. Can you imagine traveling all the way to California and Washington? Scotty B says, if I was a Big 12, I would post the Pac-12 teams, especially Utah and Arizona. Yeah, that's what a lot of people are talking about. I think Brett McMurphy was talking about that in his article today. That he thinks that's the Big 12's next move should be going after Arizona, Arizona State, Utah, and Colorado. Get Colorado back in the fold. Let me see if JPC's coming back on. He may have lost his internet or something. But yeah, that might be, and according to Brett McMurphy, a source of his said that the Big 12 has to do something. They have to react. And from what I read, the new commissioner is not supposed to take over until August 1st. I don't know they've got time to wait to August 1st, man. This thing is happening fast. So either Bob Bowlesby's got to get moving, or the new commissioner needs to step in and start earlier if he can. Just don't know if Colorado adds enough value to the Big 12. We get the Denver market. Stanford might add value to the Big 12, though. We will see what happens. I just don't – I'll be honest with you. I think Stanford, because of their stringent academic standards, is just not going to want to – unless they don't have another choice, they're not going to want to merge with the Big 12. I think they're too – I don't want to use the word elitist, but I just don't know if football means enough to them, I guess is what I'm trying to say. They're more about academics. D5 Terps, hearing Oregon and Washington have applied to the Big 10. Yep, wouldn't surprise me at all. John Kelly, good evening, everyone. Hey, Outlaw and Coos. Yeah, I don't know what happened to Outlaw. I lost him. I think it's a really good chance the ACC, SEC, Big 10 comes calling for West Virginia. At first, I didn't have much hope, but hearing this gives me hope. Maybe Golden Blue Dude is right about WVU. Yeah, he could be. I've said all along it's possible. And there's been some other signs, if you read between the lines, it looks like West Virginia could be up to something behind the scenes. But I don't want to speculate, and I don't have any sources that tell me anything, so I don't. I'm not going to run with it. He claims he does, and who am I to say he doesn't? Maybe he does. So I hope, I don't really. The only way I want us to go to the ACC is if I'm confident the ACC is going to stay stable, because right now West Virginia's actually making more money in the Big 12 than they would in the ACC. So as it stands today, we're better off where we are, other than the rivalries and the travel piece. Pac-12 punched right in the gut. You got that right. Anything possible, I think. Don't sleep on West Virginia. We're in decent shape to be relevant in this super conference stuff. Agreed. Guys, I hope I'm going to try to get to all these comments, man. Oregon, Washington equals AAU, UVA, UNC, AAU. I agree. Most of the Pac-12 schools left are, with the exception of Oregon State and Washington State and Arizona State. So, and by the way, guys, this is totally off topic a little bit. Well, not really off topic, but it's related. What's going to happen to the Rose Bowl? Think about that. The Rose Bowl could completely die, which wouldn't hurt my feelings a bit. I'm not a huge fan. The Alliance sound like an old skit from WCW. You got that right, like the NWO. Poor Lincoln Riley, he just can't catch a break. Yeah. No kidding. Now he's got to play Ohio State every year. Well, I don't know about every year, but he has to play them. Utah would be good for the Big 12, especially BYU and Utah. Bingo. Utah was the first. That's the first team I'd go for. If I were the Big 12, I think that's the first team I would want. Would be Utah, because they can be a partner with BYU. That rivalry game would be huge for the conference. Would draw some eyeballs. Lincoln Riley doubled back to run right into the Big 10. Both Big 10 and SEC will be very interested in UNC. Big 10 was interested in UVA last round. See, I wasn't aware of that. I'm just surprised. I don't know what UVA brings to them from a market standpoint. I mean, Charlottesville's okay, but you've also got Virginia Tech in the state of Virginia, who's probably as popular, if not more popular, than UVA from a fan base perspective. I don't know how much UVA would move the needle, really, other than the academic piece, which is important to them. The Super Conference will have regional pods once they get to 20 to 24. I think you're right, D5. How excited is Maryland, really? Yeah, I just wonder if there are any of these Big Ten teams that really aren't on board with this move. Makes you wonder. Sink or swim time for these universities. No one is tied to anyone else. Amen. Tanner says, when at the earliest do you think West Virginia will move to the ACC? Seeing their new protected matchups, who do you think West Virginians would be? Sure, the one they join. If West Virginia joins the ACC, if they would happen, oh gosh, sorry, got to get comfortable here. If West Virginia would join the ACC, I wouldn't expect it to happen before 2025 because that's when the grant of rights runs out for the Big 12. And as far as the protected matchups, I think it would probably be Pitt, Virginia Tech, and maybe Syracuse or Boston College would be my guess. But I could be wrong. Just based on their old Big East rivalries. I'm looking forward to going to USC and UCLA. Hey, don't blame you, man. I'd make the trip if I could. Big Ten now has Sparty and the Trojans, truly national super conference. Yeah, you got that right. Oh, man. Howdy, man. What's up? What's up, I Am Sooner? Appreciate you hopping on here, man. I think you're new here. I appreciate you coming on. Everybody, please hit that thumbs up button. Got a good crowd here tonight. For me, anyway. What's funny is that the first source was on 365 Sports and denied the idea of UCLA and USC leaving the Big Ten. Yeah, I know. I heard that the other day. I think it was about a week or two ago, wasn't it, Scotty? John Wilner? I heard that too. I was bragging about how the alliance really did work. So much for that. John Kelly says, I know they talked about it a long time on the USC fan channels. Yep, I'm with you, Snow Lord. I'm with you. Yeah, Kansas wants in the Big Ten bad. I just don't know that they carry enough weight, man. I really don't. Basketball, obviously, they do. They're AAU credit, but if you look at their overall academic rankings are not very, very, very high. They're in the hundreds or 200s in about every category. Not far ahead of West Virginia, really. WVU to the MAC. Yeah, you're funny, Budwick. Budwick's a Pitt fan, I do believe. ESP, Budwick, ESP. John Kelly says, funny one, Bud. Yeah. I was watching Smyrna. I was watching a show today that had a USC reporter that got a message stating that in the next few days, the Big Ten was going to add 2 to 4 teams in the next few days. Yep. Obviously, we know they added 2, so could have 2 more coming. Now, Smyrna, is that 2 more in addition to USC and UCLA, or is that including them? Is what I'd like to see. What's up, voice of college football? Thanks for hopping on, man. He's telling you, Mark Rogers has spoken. Hit the like button. My bad, it was Colorado, not Oregon. Oh, let me see what I Am Sooner said. Don't care about the Rose Bowl. Sorry, Mark. I'm not the Rose Bowl is holding up progress, in my opinion. Been some really good games, though. But the fact that they had wanted to hold up the college football playoff over the Rose Bowl just was incredible to me. Let me see what JPC had to say about coming back on here. Hold on. Yeah, JPC lost power or something. Yeah, I Am Sooner says I saw. Gosh, I'm not seeing these chats, man. I really appreciate everybody hopping on here, man. This is great. This is by far the biggest crowd I've ever had on a live stream. JPC's back, guys.
Yeah, I don't know how long I'm gonna be back. I forgot I got this bad cord out here, and my phone went dead, It takes a while when my phone goes completely dead for me to get enough charge to turn it back on. So I'm just going to have to fork out some money and get me a laptop. That's what I'm going to have to do.
Just do the best you can, brother. See what Lord Raiden has to say. Lord Raiden, hadn't seen him on here in a while. Says WVU won't end up in the SEC. They would move into the ACC if teams bail on the ACC. Yeah, but if teams start bailing on the ACC is not – why join it unless it's their only option?
That's why I was telling Jonathan earlier today. I'm like, it might still say the ACC, but will it really be the ACC? And they may revoke their Power 5 status, a lot of these conferences.
Yeah.
It's going to end up – I think it's going to end up like the NFL. You're going to have a version of the NFC and the AFC. You have two big leagues.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's heading that way and faster than we thought. This is by far the biggest live stream I've ever had, so I can't see. There's no way for me to get to all these comments. I'm just going to hit them as I can.
Yeah, I hate my phone went out on me like that.
That's all right. Everybody go check JPC out. He's Outlaw College Football on YouTube. If you want some very real, sometimes abrasive takes, straight no chaser is how I like to describe him. That's how Coach Jones describes him.
I do chase it every once in a while with some water. Shot a Patron and some water.
Chad Atkins says, guys, if you want me to see your chat for sure, you can hit that super chat button and leave a comment there. There's no way for me to see them all with this many people on here, but I do appreciate the support, guys. This is cool. Says Chad Atkins says the outside sources affecting college football now is putting a lot of money and influence on how the game is being shaped, and TV deals are crazy. But is this what is best for the game? Is it what best for? It depends on who. It depends on who you mean by the game. If it's the fans, no, probably not. But if it's for the student, and if it's for the student athletes, probably not, because they're going to be traveling all over. I mean, think about it. These student athletes at USC that play volleyball or swimming or whatever are going to be traveling all the way across the country to play a game in the middle of the week. How is that good for the student athlete? I don't see how it can be. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I think all them other sports are probably going to end up having a different governing body. I think football is probably going to have its own governing body eventually.
I agree. I think it needs to. I mean, it's just there's so much money in college football now. I just don't think the NCAA. I don't think the NCAA. I mean, they've proven they really can't handle it.
It's just going to be like I said. It's going to be like the NFL and the NBA, Major League Baseball. They all governed by different people.
Yeah. Lord Raiden says the only problem I see is how big can these conferences realistically get? Is the Big Ten really going to 18 teams? It appears so, Lord Raiden.
Well, I see what they'll probably do is they'll have like two large entities, like I said, with the AFC and the NFC. You'll have 30 or 40 teams in each league, and then they'll probably have pods and separate them by geography and whatnot.
Right. And then see, Congo, thanks for stopping on. Congo says, who had the better deal now, SEC or Big Ten? TV marketing, brand academics, etc. Well,
right now, it looks like the Big Ten took a step up.
Yep, I agree. But both of those conferences are making so much money. I don't know. You can say 1A and 1B, maybe. I don't know. It's really hard to say.
A lot of people think the SEC is bound by geography, but they're really not. They can change the name of that conference, and I'm sure they will for enough money. And like I said, they could change it to the Sports Entertainment Conference. They ain't even got to change the acronym.
Yeah.
Sort of like a little wrestling jab there, but
right. I agree.
I don't think the SEC is going to be bound by geography much longer. They could go after Notre Dame and try to stick them a stake right there in the middle of Big Ten country.
Yep. Yeah, I think Mark Rogers put on here earlier, the voice of college football said that he thinks the ACC should go after Notre Dame and West Virginia.
The ACC?
Yeah.
Or the SEC?
ACC, I think is what he said.
Well, it's like you were saying, though. I mean, I just don't – I really think that there's probably some kind of loophole with that 2036 deal.
I don't know, man. If there's not, I don't know how anybody gets out of it.
Could the ACC teams come together and say, look, we just don't want this deal anymore, and they all agree to go and do their own thing?
But I don't think you'd ever get them all to agree, because the ones like
Wake
maybe
Forest.
a Duke or a Wake Forest, for example, or may feel like, they would be left out if that happens.
Maybe if you get a majority, maybe if you get like 6 or 7 teams or 8 teams.
Yeah, that's what it would take. Because, if the SEC expands, they're probably going to want to go after either Florida State or Miami or Clemson, somebody like that.
Yeah.
I'd love for them to come after West Virginia. I just don't know if that's feasible.
There's always been a lot of talk in the SEC offices about NC State. And people's like, why would they go after NC State? Well, NC State's got a pretty big market in Raleigh. So that's exactly why they would go after NC State.
Oh, yeah. NC State and UNC too. UNC's right there near Raleigh as well. I think both of those would be. Somebody said earlier that he lost his service again, guys. He's having technical difficulties tonight, but John Kelly says yes, there is a loophole. John, do you know what that loophole is? If they expand, they can reopen the TV deal for negotiation, which could also allow them to leave. Oh, okay. Makes sense. Congo says, no way Notre Dame going to the SEC. Most of Notre Dame rivals are now in the Big Ten Conference besides Stanford. But but they're tied to the ACC right now, Congo. How would they get out of that deal with the ACC? I'm sure it would cost them a lot of money to get out. They're tied to the ACC in every sport. They are in the ACC in every sport except football. They're in the conference. Football, they're independent, but they have ties to the ACC. They have to play like half of their games against ACC teams or something like that. And I think it's written in there somewhere that if they join a conference between now and 2036, it has to be the ACC. So, maybe there's a loophole where they can get out of it, but I don't know. We'll see. Is it feasible? Dwayne Booher, thanks for hopping on, brother. Is it feasible for the Big 12 to renegotiate with the ACC to allow West Virginia, since UCF join and the Big 12 fill the ranks from the? I don't know. I think anything's possible at this point. It's so much chaos right now. Notre Dame doesn't play all those Big Ten teams yearly anymore. They are persona non grata around the Big Ten. I'm sure that's why they want Notre Dame to join so badly, to enhance their revenue to keep Clemson and the big guys there. Absolutely, John. I'll be honest with you. I think that might be the only thing that keeps the ACC intact is if they add Notre Dame. I really do. Because, that 2036 deal is just it's a terrible, terrible contract for these schools to be in, especially for somebody like Clemson or Florida State or Miami that might could go elsewhere and make more money. If we somehow get an SEC invite, I could die happy man. Well, I know it sounds great on the surface, and I would like it too. But, it would probably take us a few years before we can compete in the SEC. We'd have to start recruiting SEC-type talent. College football, Jonathan Lewis, thanks for hopping on, man. Everybody go check his channel out on YouTube as well. JPC had technical difficulties and I lost him, unfortunately. WV26 says the biggest thing for WVU is still having a seat at big boy table. Absolutely. Scotty B, the better king. I think divisions in college football will be gone for every conference. I agree, Scotty B, but man, how do you have a conference with 18 teams in it and not have divisions? That boggles my mind. They'd have to go to pods or some form of they're going to have to go to some form of a regional format where the travel is not going to make any sense whatsoever. Would the SEC want Miami? I would think so, Lord Raiden. They have a quality historic football program. Their academics are pretty good. They're not, I don't see why they wouldn't. I don't think Notre Dame has any reason to join. They have all of the leverage, all of it. Why join? Only to help the ACC members make more money. Notre Dame will remain independent. Yeah, most people close to most Notre Dame fans that I've communicated with, mainly through this format here, have said that they expect Notre Dame to keep its independence. Man, I think they're giving away a lot of money by doing that. I really do. That from what I understand, their TV deal with NBC is like $15 million. They can make, I mean, the Big 12 teams are making $40 million. You know what I mean? So I just don't see why. College football, John Lewis says the travel already doesn't matter with USC and UCLA. Imagine that Penn State travel. Yeah, I know what I was saying earlier, Jonathan. You're going to have Rutgers from New York traveling all the way across the country to LA. It's crazy. Or Maryland, who's right on the coast, basically traveling. It's literally coast to coast now. I mean, it's just nuts. Lord Redding says, does Miami bring more eyes? I really don't know. I'm asking. It's a small private school. That's a good question, and I think I can answer that for you here briefly in just a minute once I pull up the information that I got from Mr. Altamore a few weeks back. So bear with me a minute, and I'll try to find that information for you. Dennis says, is it too late to get rid of Houston, UCF, and Cincy now? I like BYU in the Big 12. Nah, I'd say it's pretty much too late, Dennis. I think it's a done deal, man. I actually think those schools will add something to the conference. I see what you're saying, but I do think they add something to the conference, especially Houston and UCF with the two markets they're in. They're in some big conference, some big markets. All right, let's see. Here's Miami. Miami right now, from a market standpoint, they have the 17th largest fan base in the country. And then to compare that, it's the one. They have the second largest fan base in the ACC, counting Notre Dame. So if you take Notre Dame out of the equation, Miami has the largest fan base in the ACC. So, yeah, I think they would bring eyeballs. Absolutely. Average TV viewers per million, 1.5, which is the third largest behind Clemson and Florida State. So, yeah, I think Clemson and Florida State might be the two biggest most attractive teams in the conference, but I think Miami's right there with them. College football, Jonathan Lewis says 2 conferences with 32 teams. Conference winner plays a national championship. Do it like an NFL-style playoff with AFC, NFC, and break them down into divisions that way. Jonathan, great point, man. And actually, I heard Matt Zimick today from TrojansWire.com was a guest on the Voice of College Football's live stream about this, and he mentioned the same thing. That he thinks within the next 4 to 5 years we'll have 2 32-team conferences. Now, if that scenario happens, I feel good about West Virginia's chances in being one of those 32 teams. I really do. Now, because right now there's 64 Power 5 teams plus Notre Dame, 65. So somebody would be left out, but I don't think it would be West Virginia. I think they are more valuable than a lot of other teams that would be considered for that spot. All right, guys. I appreciate, man. Everybody hit that like button. I love the interaction tonight. If you guys want to make sure I see your chat, please press the $ below where it says say something, or it says it's a super chat. It'll get your comment pushed to the top, and we'll highlight it for me so I can make sure to see it. Juan M. hopping on here says, if anything, Houston might get some attention from the Big Ten if they wanted to get into the state of Texas, since they're on their way to getting the AAU invitation the next few years. Yeah, good point, Juan. Juan's a Houston fan, so he would know more about that than I would. If Houston gets that AAU status, I could definitely see them being attractive to the Big Ten because of that Houston market. Absolutely. College football, Jonathan Lewis says SEC needs to bring in UTSA so I don't have to travel to every game. There you go. Good point. For those of you who don't know, Jonathan lives in San Antonio, Texas. That's why he said that. Michael North says if the Big 12 could get another Florida school in Cal and Stanford with a mix of other schools, it can recruit the 3 best high school football states. Yeah, I agree, but Michael North, unless it's a necessity, I do not see Stanford agreeing to be part of the Big 12. I just don't. Unless it's the only option they have. I think they're too elitist, and I don't mean to sound harsh, but that's kind of how I feel. I think they're too elitist because of their high academic status and everything to think they're joining up with the Big 12. I could be totally wrong, but unless it's their only option, I don't see them doing it. John Kelly says, well, the Big Ten and SEC might both post the SEC heavily. I agree, man. I agree. Let me see. If the Big Ten got Houston, they'd control the top 4 TV markets in the country. You got that right. Houston was pretty close to going to the Pac-12 at one time, is my understanding. They were looking really seriously at taking Houston and TCU at one time, but they decided against it. Rob Bell says second SEC wave, Miami and West Virginia. Maybe so. I've heard a lot of people ask me, well, what would West Virginia bring to the SEC? Well, it gets them into a completely new market, and that would be the Pittsburgh market. Morgantown, West Virginia is only about 70 miles from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. There's almost as many West Virginia fans in Pittsburgh as there are Pitt fans. Very big market for us. West Virginia also has a lot of fans in the D.C. market because Morgantown's not that far from D.C. And of course, you'd get the whole state of West Virginia, all 1.8 million of us. So, it would bring the SEC into a new media market, which could be, that could be something they could look at. And West Virginia was close to getting into the SEC at one time, so I don't think it's that far-fetched of an idea to think we get into the SEC. I'm not saying we'd be their first choice, but I do think it's possible. Just like Notre Dame isn't going to the SEC or Big 12. Same thing with Stanford. I wouldn't count Notre Dame out of the SEC, though. I really wouldn't. The other two, probably not so much. Cal and Stanford have the same mindset. I agree. California has banned government travel to several Big 12 states. Good point, John. I hadn't thought about that. But you're right. Because of their political beliefs and values and things like that being different. Second SEC wave might be Miami and UNC. I could see that happening too. Leo Cole says, everyone is thinking football. What about travel for these teams in basketball like the Big 12 we have played? Yeah, Leo, that's a good point. And I touched on that earlier. These Olympic sports who play games in the middle of the week, the travel would be absolutely brutal for USC, UCLA, and the teams they play. It's going to be brutal, man. And I'm wondering if the Olympic sports, the ones that don't bring any revenue, the non-revenue sports, will they even survive this? Because their travel budgets are going to be massive. And if they're not bringing in any money anyway, how are they going to sustain it? The Big 12 needs to avoid the West Coast leftist culture. It would be a constant thorn in the Big 12 side. Philip, I agree with that, but unfortunately, it may come to the point where we don't have a choice, man. Who knows? The way these conferences are throwing geography out the window. Stanford is one of the schools might be going to the Big Ten. It's in the Bay market. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me to see either all 4 California schools or USC, UCLA, Washington, and Oregon. Because one thing JPC and I were mentioning earlier, Cal and UCLA are both part of the same college system, the University of California system. And so it's kind of odd to me that UCLA is leaving Cal behind. That's kind of strange to me. The California University Chancellors or Board of Regents would have to approve that. Snow Lord says WVU should be fine. A lot of people say West Virginia don't bring a lot of money. That's not true. When it comes to fans turning on games, WVU brings a lot of money. I agree. We do. Okay, the bots found me here. Not even basketball. What about the non-revenue sports? Exactly. The only thing I can think of is the extra TV money will take care of the travel budget. Maybe so. I hope that's the case. I really do. These bots, man, you can't get rid of them. What a disaster these things are. I wish YouTube would do something about it. Try to come in and ruin people's live streams. But yeah, one of the things I want to talk about too is how this will impact West Virginia, which we've kind of touched on it. But like I said earlier, I think for West Virginia, I think the more chaotic it gets, the better, to be honest. Because, like I said, I don't think we're going to be top 2 of anybody's list, but we might be top 3 or 4 of somebody's list. So the more teams they have to add, the better. I know that probably sounds like I'm down talking my own team, but it's not. I'm just trying to be real. Congrats, Coos. 127 viewers watching, man. Thank you, brother. I appreciate 130 now. Everybody keep hitting that like button. Keep the chat going. I appreciate everybody's support. I just don't see West Virginia at the SEC. Next up will be the ACC for us. My opinion would be West Virginia and Notre Dame. Oh, North Carolina. He put North Carolina in a later chat. Yeah, man, I think you meant Notre Dame there, but maybe I'm wrong because North Carolina's already in the ACC. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, only way I see West Virginia going, only way I would love to see us play rivals again, but it needs to make financial sense. And I trust Gordon Gee and Shane Lyons to make the right decision because Gordon Gee is one of the most well-respected university presidents in the country. He's extremely smart, and he will do whatever it takes to put West Virginia in the right place, wherever that is. So I trust him. And I just think financially right now we're better off in the Big 12 unless the Big 12 starts to crumble. Then you may need to look for something. I did block them, Scotty, but sometimes when you hit block, it won't let you block them. The bots come because you and Jonathan keep hitting them up. Oh, troglodyte. Thanks, man. WVU's in the Big 12 until 2020. I agree. If we do leave, somebody asked me that early on. One of the first questions was, if West Virginia goes to the ACC, when would it happen? I said it couldn't happen any earlier than 2025 because that's how long the granted rights agreement is with the Big 12. I'm glad Shane Lyons didn't become commissioner. He's loved here. Yeah, I agree. Kelsey Whitlack's popped in. Thank you. Wing night at B-Dubs means I'm enjoying my wings and some Couz's Corner. Thanks, bro. I appreciate you. Including me in your wing night, man. Means a lot. Gregory Krug. West Virginia would be fools to go to the ACC at this point, in my opinion. I agree, Greg. At this point, like I said, I'm not saying they will never go. I think we're going to have to see how these dominoes fall and how everything ends up. But right now, today, they're better off where they are. With this new commissioner coming in, let's see what he can do. Can he poach some teams from the Pac-12? Not saying I don't want us going to California or Washington, but they got to do they've got to do what they've got to do to keep the Big 12 alive. And if it means bringing in some teams from the West, then bring in teams from the West. Mountaineer Sports Talk. I see the Big 12 adding Utah, Arizona State, and Colorado. Yeah, that's what's being talked about right now. And by the way, Mountaineer Sports Talk also has their own YouTube channel, so please go check them out. They're big West Virginia fans, putting out some good content. Go check them out. Yeah, that's what's being talked about. Wouldn't it be kind of ironic for Colorado to have to come back to the Big 12 after leaving? They'd have to eat some crow there, wouldn't they? If the Big 12 decides to stay the way it will be with the new team, should the Big 12 go after Notre Dame? Leo, I think everybody should go after Notre Dame. I just don't think the Big 12 will get them because of I think Notre Dame would prefer to be either in the ACC or the Big 10 because of their academic ranking. I've got a super chat here. Gregory Krug, keep up the great work. Thanks, brother. Thanks for the support, everybody. If you want to drop me a super chat down below, put your comment up to the top, and I will see it easier. And it also goes to support my channel. I really appreciate the support, Gregory. Beginning guitar at 60. OU and Texas will have a rude awakening in the SEC. Can't wait for them to fall. I actually think Oklahoma would do well in the SEC. Texas, I think it's yet to be determined because they have to get their culture issues straightened out. But I do think Oklahoma will compete in the SEC. Maybe not day one, but I think they will. I think I think Oklahoma is actually a good cultural fit in the SEC. I know that's not the popular opinion, but I think it's the truth. I'm sure Clemson is not very happy right now, making half of the revenue of Ohio State. Exactly. I agree with that, John. WVU and Oklahoma State need to get together and try to get in the SEC in 2025. I would have no issue with that. I just don't know how West Virginia and Oklahoma State, they're so geographically apart. They can't be travel partners. So how would they? I don't know. They are probably the two biggest brands left of the original 8. Some could argue that, but I think they are. If you look historically, you got to look. West Virginia hasn't done that great the last 3 seasons, but if you go back in time, West Virginia is the biggest brand left in the Big 12 right now. Notre Dame versus BYU, or Notre Dame versus Baylor, Notre Dame versus TCU would be a good game and could be the battle of religious schools. Yeah, you're right. It could be. I think it's a great way to market some of these games. But TCU seems to be moving away, doesn't want to be known as a religious school, which is a whole nother opinion. Kansas State beat them 2-1 last 3 years. I agree. Not saying West Virginia is better than Kansas State today. I'm just saying historically. USC UCLA takes Oklahoma Notre Dame own conference. It's worth thinking about. Mountaineer Sports Talk. Thanks for the super chat. 999 super chat. Keep up the great work, Coos. Thank you, man. Go check those. Like I said, go check them out. Have their own YouTube channel, Mountaineer Sports Talk. Did a really good video about stupid bots. They did a really good video a few days ago, ranking. I think they were ranking. They did a tier list, doing some rankings, and I thought it was very, very intriguing. So go check it out. What do you think of Kansas and Iowa State chances of moving to the Big Ten? Slim to none. Iowa State just gave up their AAU status, which I think pretty much rules them out. And then I think Kansas still has their AAU status, but I just don't think they bring a lot to the table other than basketball and the AAU. And I just don't know that that's enough, because we all know football rules the day, and we know that their football program doesn't do much, and they're academically they're really not that great of a school either as far as rankings go. They do have the AAU status, but they don't have much ranking. Golden Voodoo, thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. I forgot I'd made you a mod. But this one here won't even, this one won't block for some reason. Could the Big Ten go to 24? Possibly. They could go to, like college football, Jonathan Lewis was saying earlier, they could go to 32. We could see 2 32-team leagues. I mean, think about that. If that happens, I definitely think West Virginia is included in that. I really do. There's not 64 teams better than West Virginia as far as moving the needle in college football, in my opinion. I don't, and anybody that says that to me hasn't been paying attention for the last, I don't know, 4 decades. JPC's apologizing to me. It happens. No worries, brother. Everybody go check JPC's channel out. It's Outlaw of College Football. He was on here with me for a little while, and then he had some technical difficulties. West Virginia and Pitt. Let me see what this is. West Virginia and Pitt and Virginia Tech to the Big Ten. That would be cool. I'd love to see that. I'd love West Virginia getting the Big Ten. I just don't think academically we're just not there, guys. I hate to bust everybody's bubble, but they care too much about academics in the Big Ten. And West Virginia, whether we like it or not, academically is not there. We're not AAU accredited. And I just don't see it happening. Just being real. Mountaineer Sports Talk says, do you think the Pac-12 will implode or just become a mediocre conference? I don't think it will implode. I think it'll just become a mediocre. Well, let me back up. If more dominoes fall in the next 2 or 3 days, which they're saying it could, then I think it will implode. If they lose 2 or 3 more teams, then yes, I think it implodes. But if it stays at just UCLA and USC, I don't think it implodes. But I don't see how Stanford and Cal stay put without USC and UCLA. I really don't. One thing is almost certain: Memphis won't get a Big 12 invite. What makes you say that? Lawo Men's Hoops. Sorry if I butchered your name. This year for WVU could go three ways: dream season, nightmare, average. What's your honest opinion how they'll be? I don't think it'll be either of those. I think it'll be 8-4 maybe, and I don't think that's the, and I think that's above average. We've been average the last three seasons. A dream season would be 10 wins to me, and that's very possible. I do think that's achievable if JT Daniels can stay healthy. And I don't think it'll be a nightmare to me. Would be anything to me, guys. I'm gonna be honest with you, because where we've been the last 3 years, anything less than 7 wins is a nightmare to me. I'll be honest. And I think anything less than that, they might need to reconsider their coaching. I hate to be like that because I like Neil Brown, but year 4, it's time to win games. Better than usual, above average. That's what I think too, Gold Blue dude. I think that 8 or 9 games. I think West Virginia wins 8 or 9 games this year, which is above average, but not quite. I wouldn't call it a dream season either. Spot on, Coos. Just being real, man. I love Neil Brown. I really do. I think he's doing great things. Recruiting. I think the way he runs the program. But if we have another 5 and 6 win season, man, I just don't think. I don't see how they keep him. I mean, I don't see how you justify it. How do you justify that to your boosters and to the fans that are paying now? What looks like I saw ticket prices. Looks like they're going to be up around $90 a ticket this year. I mean, come on, man. If I've got to pay $90 for my ticket, I want to see a good product out there. You know. I'm just being real, and I'm not being harsh. I'm not calling it. I'm not throwing shade, or I'm just being honest. We pay these coaches $4 or $5 million a year to win. Snowlord 99, thanks for the super chat, brother. Says UC where Big Game Boomer picked up. I did. I just don't. I heard an interview with Big Game Boomer. Matter of fact, it was the Voice of Morgantown podcast. I heard him on. They interviewed him a few weeks ago, and they asked him point blank, man, why you keep picking us so low? And he basically said he doesn't have confidence in Neil Brown. He said Neil Brown hasn't shown him anything yet, and he just thinks Neil Brown has to start winning before he can trust him more. So he says he likes West Virginia, and he wants them to do well. He thinks college football is better when West Virginia does well. He loves West Virginia's fan base. He loves our passion, but he said he just does not have faith in Neil Brown right now. So I respect that. I don't agree with it, but I do respect it. And he's also put on Twitter that he doesn't think JT Daniels is any better than Jarrett Doege, which I totally disagree with. But in his defense, maybe he's assuming that JT Daniels won't stay healthy. I don't know. GBD says, just today's news has given me 3 months worth of content. Yeah, I can't say that, man. Golden Voodoo is great at the conference realignment content, man. I'm not as good at that. I mean, I can't think of those big ideas like he does, I guess. We definitely have a lot to prove. Yes, we do. GBD, yes, it has. Kelsey Whitlock, it will be interesting to see Neil Brown if JT Daniels turns out to be really good. He hasn't had a reliable QB yet, in my opinion. I agree, Kelsey. But it's up to him to recruit a quarterback too. So I can't, recruiting is half the job. Do you think Boise State could help the Big 12? Now, some of that's on Dana, though. Let me go back to that. Some of that is on Dana. Dana didn't leave him with a lot. But at the same time, it's also up to him. Do people not realize what we've had on offense and still got to bowl back-to-back years, and now we'll have an actual offense? I agree, Golden Blue Dude. 1M, thanks for the super chat, buddy. Appreciate your content, Coos. I hope Big 12 stays together long enough. Y'all get a shot at Holgorsen when Houston plays WVU. I would love to see Houston. I don't like how Dana left us, man, but at the same time, I understand it. He loves the city of Houston. He wanted to move back to Houston. I get it. For him, I think it was about more than just football. And I don't think his recruiting style worked at West Virginia. And I don't know that he saw eye to eye with Gordon Gee and Shane Lyons either. So I think it was best for both parties for him to go their separate ways. I don't think he was a terrible coach, but I also don't think he was a great coach. I think he had peaked. I don't know that he was ever going to do any better than what he had done at West Virginia. Now at Houston, maybe he can do better. Dana is really, really good at building programs through transfer market. So he might be a great coach to have during this transfer portal era. In all honesty, it would have been interesting to see how he could have done at West Virginia during this era. I think he could have done better at West Virginia now than he did while he was here, because I think he's better at bringing in transfers than he is recruiting high school players. Just my opinion. But now that he's in Houston with all that high school talent, we'll see how he does. Christian says, well, if it isn't Golden Blue Dude, hope you're well. You guys keep up the good work. Thanks, Christian. We appreciate you, man. We appreciate the support. I know Golden Blue Dude does as well. Mountaineer Sports Talk says Dana's recruiting is way better for Houston than for WVU. I agree. Juan says good insight. Thank you, man. I just try to be real. Like I said, but it would be great to see Houston and WVU play each other, because if Dana coming back to Morgantown, man, would be electric. He'd probably get booed. I mean, it'd be fun. It'd be fun, man. But at the same time, Dana did some good things here. He won that Orange Bowl for us, got us a 10-win season with Skylar Howard here. To be honest with you, I thought he overachieved that year, and he was able to work the offense around what he had. So he transitioned to he turned the air raid into a running offense, which I didn't think could be done. He did best with Bill Stewart's players. If we could get someone that could recruit like Bill did, that would yes, Kelsey. Bill Stewart was an awesome recruiter, but I just didn't think he had it when it came to the X's and O's. And I also I think he made some bad decisions as far as picking staff as well, and that may have hurt. Christian says, do you think Lincoln Riley knew about this? Let's see how big of a game he talks now that he's not going. Christian, somebody brought that up today as a kind of a I don't want to say assumption, but speculation that maybe Lincoln Riley did know this. Maybe that's what lured him to USC. Who knows? Kelsey says I'd be for Rich Rod coming back if it meant West Virginia would be a powerhouse like they were from. I would, I want Neil Brown to be successful, but if he's not successful and they would decide to bring Rich Rod back, I would accept him back. I really would. But about half of our fan base would not. I can tell you. Mountaineer Sports Talk, do you think WVU should renew the rivalry with Marshall? I do not. Mountaineer Sports Talk. Sorry. It doesn't benefit West Virginia in the least. But, however, I see we're playing Ohio in a couple years. If we can play Ohio, we should be able to play Marshall. But that being said, that Ohio game probably has some recruiting. There's probably some recruiting reasons behind that, because West Virginia recruits so much in the state of Ohio. Playing a game in Ohio could help with recruiting. So I'm sure there's a reason behind it other than just playing, easy competition. Hawkins is a terrible recruiter and should be replaced. Yeah, I mean, if you look, Houston's class is not that great right now either. I mean, they're 50-something in the country right now. So I don't know, man. I'm not sold on him yet as a recruiter, I can tell you. I think WVU football needs to get more Big Ten and SEC teams on the schedule in the future. I agree. Now, we do have Alabama on the schedule. We do have Penn State on the schedule. So I think they're trying to do that. Breaking news. Detroit Lions agree to join the Big Ten Conference. That's funny. Oh, that is funny, Gregory. Sad thing is, I don't think they'd win the conference. I still think Ohio State would beat them. Oh, man. Mountaineer Sports Talk. Do you think West Virginia should renew their rivalry with Marshall? I want to get your opinion on that. Golden Blue Dude says, WVU versus Marshall is not a rivalry and has no benefit for West Virginia University. Absolutely. 100% agree. Joe Manchin doesn't agree. Some argue better than FCS, but we lose another home game. Yep, exactly. We're already playing more road games than home non-conference. See if I missed any chats here, guys. I'm sure I did. Can't see them all. And these friggin' bots, man. It won't let me block them. Oh, well. Justin R., I think I may have missed your chat. Let me see. I think this is going to end with all the old Big East members back together in the ACC. You know what? It might. It just might. It'll be interesting to see. Wouldn't hurt my feelings as long as West Virginia can still, as long as West Virginia doesn't take a financial hit, and as long as they can stay at the big boy tables, quote unquote big boy table, then I'm okay with it, and would embrace it. Obviously, I think WVU football needs to get more Big Ten. Oh, I already read that one. Well, guys, look. Oh, here we go. Some more comments here. I'm a Packer fan. The Lions will be better this year, I think. Last year they had some bad luck. They almost beat the Packers and Ravens and did. Yeah. Detroit, they're just one of those pro sports teams that just, I think they've had bad leadership over time and just have never been able to get over the hump for whatever reason, kind of like the Cleveland Browns. Not as bad as the Browns. I mean, my God, the Browns are a dumpster fire, but a pro football team will blow the best college football. I agree with you, Lord. Right now, I was joking, man, but you're right. They would. It was. I meant that. I wasn't being serious. I think it benefits the state as a whole when West Virginia plays Marshall, even though you always beat them. It does benefit the state. I don't disagree with that, but as a West Virginia fan, and I ain't gonna lie, I did enjoy those games, except the one that was really close. We almost lost. I didn't enjoy that one too much. That one gave me a heart attack. But it does benefit the state, man. And I guess as a West Virginia resident, I should probably root for that game. But I've got to be perfectly honest. Marshall's fans are so friggin' obnoxious. I don't even want to entertain them, to be honest with you. We will start to see schools traveling to one state to play two teams like last. Yeah, and that's what they need to do. I mean, it would make, especially these non-revenue sports, it would make no sense for them to travel across the country and then back again for two games in the same week. You know, they need to do what West Virginia is doing right now, and they do it some anyway in the Big 12 basketball, and that's like they'll go to Kansas. They might play Kansas and Kansas State back-to-back road games before they fly back to Morgantown. You know, that's because these are student athletes still, and I think that's what whoever's making these decisions are losing sight of the fact they are student athletes. They still have to go to class, you know, and that doesn't need to be forgotten. And it kind of irritates me that that's being forgotten. Money-wise, does it make sense when Marshall won't play at Morgantown? I'm going with no. No, it doesn't. And see, Kelsey, that's actually the video on this, if you want to go look back through my videos and check it out. But West Virginia would only agree to play Marshall if it was like a 3-1, like 3 in Morgantown to every 1 at Huntington. And Marshall wouldn't agree to that. West Virginia gets no benefit whatsoever for going to Huntington to play a game. Matter of fact, they probably lose money. Marshall would get all the gate receipts. What does West Virginia gain? It only holds about 30,000 fans. I mean, I just don't see how West Virginia gains anything. And if they lose, their entire season is tanked. I mean, absolutely tank their season. I don't think that's. I mean, heck, they do play Ohio and East Carolina so that, you know, I'm not saying that that's the reason, but just from my perspective, at least playing Ohio in Ohio, you're in a state where you recruit heavily. You're not recruiting heavily in Huntington, West Virginia. Matter of fact, we're already getting the guys out of Huntington, West Virginia for the most part. We've got 3 on the roster right now that are probably, and 2 of them are going to start and potentially be All-Americans. Oh, I'm wrong. We got 4 because the Corbin Page, the tight end we just signed, is also from Huntington. It comes down to this: if you're a Marshall fan, then you want it to happen. If you're a West Virginia fan, you don't want it to happen. For the most part, yes. I think there are a few West Virginia fans that do, but for the most part, that's correct. Golden Blue dude. I would agree with that. The majority of West Virginia fans for sure. 3-1 makes sense. It's lineman boxing. The champ gets to set terms. Well, I mean, I would agree with you, but Marshall doesn't. But what Marshall wanted to do 2-1, and West Virginia wouldn't agree to 2-1. So, but they're doing 2-1 in Ohio with Ohio. When we're talking multi-millions or even billions, they don't care about the student athletes. I know, Kelsey, and that's a shame, man. It's a total shame that it's gotten that way. Like I said in the video, you know, we just have to embrace it because that's the road college athletics is going. There's no turning back now. So At minimum, how many bowl teams do you think the Big 12 will have? Good question, Scotty. Great question, man. Making me think. Oklahoma State, Baylor, Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas State, West Virginia. 6. I think 6. Right off the top of my head. I don't think TCU is going to be very good. I don't think Kansas will. I think Kansas will be better than usual, but I still don't think they make a bowl game. I think Texas Tech will be bad. I do think Joey McGuire will be a decent, good. I'm not saying Joe McGuire will be a bad coach for them long term, but I think there's going to be a year of adjustment. Same with TCU. I think it's going to take some adjustment with the new coaching staff. And then who was the other one I left out? Iowa State. I think Iowa State takes a step back this year. Iowa State lost a bunch of talent. Ganja Gorilla, fight on, off to rule the Big 12. I assume he's a UCF fan. Welcome to the conference, brother. Welcome to the conference. Cool name, by the way. Golden Buddha says, any Marshall fans in the chat, 12-0. Is that a rivalry? Let me see what the first part of your comment was, Mountaineer Sports Talk. Do you think West Virginia had a shot at winning the Big 12 title this year? Yes, I do think they have a shot. If JT Daniels stays healthy, if the offensive line has improved as much as the coaching staff says they have, and the defense doesn't take a step back, if they just remain where they are, then absolutely they have a chance. And I also think there are several teams in the Big 12 that will take a step. I think Oklahoma is beatable this year because of the new coach. I like Brent Venables. I really do, but it's a transition period. It's a transition year. So this is a year to get them. I think Oklahoma will take a step back. I think Oklahoma State might take a step back. They'll still be good, but I think they take a step back. Like I said, I think Iowa State steps back. I do think Kansas State's going to be tough. I think they're better than people expect. I think our toughest games are going to be obviously Oklahoma State, as always, Baylor, and then also I think Kansas State's going to be good this year too. So I think that's the four. I think the 4 top teams in the league are going to be Baylor, Baylor, Kansas State, Oklahoma, and West Virginia, with Oklahoma State hanging right in there too, around 4 or 5. So that's my initial thoughts. You think 6 make a bowl, but no one shocked from State or not? Yeah, it's possible. If they could all beat up on each other in the league, several of them make a bowl game. If you're Big 10 or SEC, do you really want to add any more teams? I mean, 16 is a lot. It is a lot, Darren. It really is. And thanks for hopping on, by the way. I see you're an OU fan. It is a lot, man. That's why I think this is eventually going – this could eventually go to 2 32-team leagues like the pros do. And then we see them spread off into geographic divisions from there, potentially. That's what I'm thinking. I think both SEC and Big 10 had 4 more at least. Marshall Raven rivalry is that the game has a name, Friends of Coal Bowl. It does, but I still don't think it's worth it as a West Virginia fan. I'm going to the backyard brawl. Can't wait to see salty Pittsburgh fans. Awesome. Yeah. Great, Kelsey. I'd love to go. I don't think I'm going to be able to, but I definitely would like to. Keep forgetting Texas and playing in Austin. And oh yeah, Texas. I didn't forget about Texas. I just don't until Texas is going to have a phenomenal offense. There's no doubt about it. But I just don't think their defense is going to be that much better this year. There again, I think they'll make a bowl game, but I don't think they're going to win the league. They're going to put up a lot of points, but I don't know that their defense is back. I do like what Texas is doing in recruiting this year in the 2023 class, and I think they're going to be back within the next couple seasons, but I don't know that it's 2022. I don't fear Texas. Then the scraps of ACC and Pac-12 join the Big 12 to get 20 to 22 teams. You say join the Big 12. They'll combine maybe to form one conference. I don't know what they'll call it, but yeah, you're probably right. So Pac-12 is done. I think it's going to depend, June. If we see 2 or 3 more teams leave the conference in the next few days or weeks, then yes, I think they are. If it stays at just USC and UCLA, then they might be able to save it by adding a couple different teams. But I just don't see how Stanford and Cal hang around, man. I really don't. Why would Stanford and Cal be in a league with the two teams that they're connected to at the hip leave? I hope you make a video about what the hypothetical 232-team Super League teams will be. I'm planning on it. I am actually. I'm going to do that when I have. It's been a crazy week for me and my family. A lot of stuff going on. But I do plan on sitting down and trying to make a video about that, especially with the news that broke today. That did come up on my radar, actually. College football is about rivalries and school spirit, but not anymore. Yeah, and tradition. We're losing the tradition, Kenneth. Voice of college football kind of got on me because I didn't care about the Rose Bowl. And I know that's tradition, but the Rose Bowl is a whole nother discussion. The Rose Bowl was too elitist and uppity for me. But and I'm just not look, I'm not a fan of Pac-12 or Big Ten. I'll just be honest. Now, would I want West Virginia to get in the Big Ten? Absolutely, I would. It'd be stupid not to. But from where I sit right now, I'm just not a fan of either conference because I feel like they're elitist a little bit. I think the ACC is too, to be honest. The Big 12 gets the Pac-12 teams I mentioned before. Do you think it's still a good idea for you to try to get into the ACC if invited? Probably not, because I don't think they'd make the same amount of money in the ACC. If that happens, the travel would be even more brutal. But from a financial perspective, Mountaineer Sports Talk, I think it would be better for them to stay in the Big 12 if those four teams get added. And the four teams he's referring to, by the way, are Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, and Utah. West Virginia and our good friend, the Golden Blue Dude, do you guys think West Virginia should build a bigger Coliseum, compete in the ACC areas as possible Big Ten to get an invite? Bigger Coliseum in basketball? It's all right. We already hold 14,000, so I'm not sure. Or are you talking about football stadium, Brandon? Can you be more specific? Do you think man will be successful at Texas? I don't know yet, Eric. I haven't seen him play enough to answer that question. I'm a little bit nervous about he looks great when you watch his film. He has a very quick release and pretty good arm. But I've heard that when he plays tough competition, he's not as accurate. And he plays against small schools. He goes to a small school in Louisiana. So I'd like to see him play against tougher competition before answering that. I really don't know. I said everyone blamed Texas and it started. What are we blaming Texas for? If it goes to 32, 232 conference might be better for the players and fan bases. I think it would be in the end because they could, like I said, if they can divide off into like geographic divisions, then I think it would be better for the fan bases. I think BYU broke the Pac-12. Oh, Cam, that's priceless, man. That is priceless. Oh, geez. For those who don't know what he's referring to, BYU went 5-0 against the Pac-12 last year in football. Kelsey Whitlack says the building a new field ship has sailed. That's why they did all the remodeling at the stadium over last year. Yeah. Our stadium holds about 60,000. I think you can squeeze 62,000 in there on a good day. So I don't know that they would put the money in a new – I don't know that they would need to. I don't think every stadium in the SEC – I compared our stadium size one time to the ACC, and we would be like middle of the pack. We're already bigger than about half the ACC stadiums now. Now, SEC might be a different story. I haven't looked at that. But yeah, ACC, we're already competitive in the ACC as far as stadium size goes. And they did put a lot of money into their stadium. They didn't build a new stadium, but they redid the turf. They redid the concourse area, added more concession stands, added more area, what I call hangout areas off to the side where people can stand and hang out. It's a lot nice. It's really nice. West Virginia has made more bathrooms. They've made major improvements to their stadium. I like what they've done there. I think it can compete with about any school in the Power 5 right now, to be honest. May not seat as many. We don't seat 90 to 100,000 people, but the stadium, as far as the layout and the quality of it, is good. The renovations, I feel, put us in the big leagues. Yeah, oh yeah, Kelsey, I agree. I went last year. I went to the Oklahoma State. The two games I picked to go to last year were Texas Tech and Oklahoma State, right? Two worst possible games, but no. So I was at both of those games last year. So I've definitely seen the renovations there, and I like what they've done. I'm in Los Angeles, and everyone got shocked especially Pac-12 was kind of a big community in the West. Baseball, basketball, softball, gymnastics, so many things we shared every year. Yeah, June, I bet it is, man. From what I understand, the Pac-12 puts a lot of time, money, effort into their non-revenue sports, and especially their Olympic sports. So I hate to see that happening, but unfortunately, the same thing happened to us with the Big East back in mid 2000, around 2010. Miami and VT leave. Then we see Syracuse and Boston College leave. And the conference just crumbled, man, and it is definitely sad when that happens. Texas will catch hell for destroying the current conferences. Blame Arch. Why not? Yeah, we can. Let's blame somebody. We got to blame somebody, right, Corey? Actually, I don't blame Texas. I don't blame Texas and Oklahoma for going to the SEC. They're going to make more money. I don't blame them at all. I'm not a Texas fan by any stretch of imagination, but I don't hate on them for what they did. They did what any school in their position would have done. I don't like how they handled it behind closed doors, but how else are you supposed to handle it, though, in all honesty? Just being real here. Are they going to go? It's like being at a job. Do you go up and tell your boss, by the way, I'm planning to leave in 2 years? You don't do that. We haven't had our 7,000 in state. Yeah, I think but since they put in new boxes and new suites, I think it cut down on. I think it decreased what it holds now because they added more suites, which they can charge more for, which actually helps increase revenue in the end. They could add a couple of decks for seating. They could add decks. I just don't know how. That's probably not on their horizon now. I think their biggest deal, they wanted to improve the quality of the stadium and to make it more fan friendly, and then they wanted to make the upgrades to the football facility for the players facilities, and I think that's a home run because it's paying dividends in recruiting already. So I think that was a home run move too. WVU Stadium will be the second smallest in the SEC. Vandy holds 40,000. Thanks, Justin, for that. I had not looked that up, so thank you. I knew it would probably be small compared to most SEC stadiums, but ACC we're about middle of the pack, I think, based on my research. Because I was debating somebody one time about that, and I had to prove them wrong. What do you think the chances of the Big 12 getting Oregon, Cal, Utah, Stanford, so the other 4 teams you mentioned earlier? Not good, mainly because I don't think, at least not Stanford and Cal, because I don't think Stanford and Cal would join the Big 12 because of their academic standards. Stanford and Cal have extremely high academic standards. They have huge endowments because of their academics, and the Big 12 just doesn't have the same academic culture. What box? I meant the suites, Smyrna. There's suites on one end of the stadium over one of the end zones that didn't used to be there. They added those several years ago, and when they did, they had to take out some. It took up some seating space, but the suites bring in more revenue because they cost a lot of money. Mountaineer Field has still been known to be one of the most hostile road. Absolutely, it is. Oregon and Washington applied to join the Big Ten. Are you serious? That is crazy if that's the case, man. Not that it surprises me. But is that really happening? Or are you just yeah, it'd be crazy. Crazy stuff. I'm not going to ignore you guys to look that up, but I'll take your word for it. Go Blue. You hear all these rumors about building a bigger football team. Doesn't make sense if they build a new stadium and they're doing all this work to their old one. Yeah, I don't see them building a new stadium. I think they'll keep renovating the one they got and maybe add seats to it or something. Maybe like a deck or something like somebody said. I would think so, Kelsey. Why not, right? West Virginia still has a great home environment, I should say. That I think I think we could be as loud as some of the other SEC schools that may have bigger stadiums than us. If that makes sense. Thank you, Cam. I appreciate the support, man. Corey says not only applied but reported have been accepted. Holy crap! So the Pac-12 is officially done, guys. Take a fork, Stick it in the Pac-12. They're done. Done. Pac-12 is history. Pac-12 is. Do I sound happy? Because it's awful that I sound happy, but I kind of am. I ain't gonna lie. Not a big fan of the Pac-12, as you can tell. Sorry, Tony Altamore. I know you're a USC guy. I'm not a fan of the Pac-12. Sorry. I think they're, but anyway. But I don't. But I hate it for their fans though. They have great fans, and I know, like June Kim said earlier, it's sad because you lose all these rivalries and all these traditions. Yeah, June, I hate it, man. I hate it for you fans. I really do. I hate it. Like I said, I'm not a fan of the Pac-12 teams, but I hate it for you loyal fans because we West Virginia fans know what it feels like. So I don't wish it on any fan base to go through what. What's up, Gary Lewis? Thanks for hopping on. I don't wish it on any fan base, man. I really don't, except maybe Pitt. But sorry, Pitt fans. But yeah, or Virginia Tech. Brandon says, I have hearing some of the people thinks they're going to move the football stadium one day, but it doesn't make sense. They're doing all this work. Yeah, I've not heard that, Brandon. I'm not saying it's not true. I don't see them moving it, man. I don't know why they would. I really hope the Big 12 gets the teams I mentioned, since now it seems like I agree with you, Mountaineer Sports Talk. Big 12 has to act now. And like I said, this new commissioner is not supposed to start till August 1st, man. I think they need to. I think he needs to start today. I really do. He needs to start today. Because I'll be honest with you, I don't know that I trust Bob Bowlesby to do this, especially on his way out the door. You know what I mean? I could see Stanford and Cal joining the Big Ten too because of academics. I could too, man. Are we seeing a potential Pac-12 Big Ten type merger deal here, so to speak, similar to it? What player number will they retire at the stadium this year? I don't know, Eric. That's a good question. I haven't heard. If anybody knows that, type it in the USF fan. We went through that crap 10 years. Yep. US. When West Virginia left the Big East fell apart. But Justin, we had to leave because we knew it was falling apart, man. We had to get out because we were getting left behind by Virginia Tech and all these other schools, and of course you guys joined. It was bad. It wasn't good. Goose, we know you dislike the Pac, but you, in my opinion, you are a knowledgeable Scottish football fan. Thank you, Gary. I appreciate that. Like I said, I'm a fan, so obviously there's teams out there that I dislike. And conferences I dislike, but at the end of the day, I try to be fair. I'll rag on teams here and there and give my opinion, but I try to be fair about it and realistic. How do you Ears fans feel nervous about a domino or ripple effect? Gary, I'll be honest with you. This actually makes me more optimistic because if it's the Pac-12 that's falling apart and not the Big 12, I think the Big 12 has the option of going and poaching some of these teams that are getting left behind by the Pac, A. And B, if this could cause the SEC to respond and add more teams to their conference. And I think West Virginia I'm not saying we would be their first choice, but I think West Virginia would have a legit chance to get in the SEC if they decide to add 4 teams. Or if the ACC decides to add teams. I think West Virginia has a chance to be a team added to somebody. I don't think we may not be the SEC's first choice, but we might be their third or fourth choice, if that makes sense. If that makes sense. Thank you, Gary. I appreciate that, man. That means a lot. Gregory Krug says that Pac-12 Big 12 SEC alliance looks even more absurd. Oh yeah, no kidding. That was a joke, man. Saturdays Down South has reported Stanford has applied to the Big Ten. Oh my God. Oh man, it's crazy. Craziness happening around college football. I got chill bumps right now, man, reading this. I don't know if it's good or bad chill bumps, but it's chill bumps. Pat White should be, yeah, but it takes a long time to get your jersey retired. I agree, though, he should have it. Pac-12 is our most disliked conference. They wouldn't even allow BYU in because of religious reasons. Yep. Yeah, that's one of the reasons, man. I'm not a fan of the Pac. I just feel like I said earlier, I feel like they're elitists. But they do have some really nice fans. Tony Altamore, I consider him a friend. I've done videos with Matt Zimick. He's been nice and respectful to me. There's an Oregon fan, Ryan Winter, over on Sports Chat 503. I've done some work with him. USCJ puts out good content on YouTube. So, like I said, I have nothing against the Pac-12 fan bases or fans. It's just the schools that I dislike and the teams. Washington was denied entry to the Big Ten 7 minutes ago. What? Denied entry. Wow. Guys, this is all happening in real time. This is crazy. Taco Big Ten 30, Virginia, UNC, Pitt, among others. Wow. This is nuts. Wow. Might also include Stanford, Cal, because Stanford has the strongest. Man, this is. If West Virginia gets involved by the ACC, it depends. It depends on how these dominoes fall, Jason. If everything stays as is in those two conferences, in the Big 12 and the ACC, then I say no, because they're making more money in the Big 12, at least today. And if the Big 12 is able to add Utah, Arizona State, and Colorado, even though it's going to be brutal travel for West Virginia, they still have a chance to make more money in the Big 12. Now, if everything starts crumbling, the Big 12 starts to crumble, and the ACC invites us over, then yes, I want to see us go to the ACC. I mean, to be honest with you, as a fan and watching the games, I would prefer the ACC because of the rivalries and the travel. But from what's best for the university, they need to make the most money they can. If ACC goes under, I bet UNC and Duke go to Big Ten. I don't know about Duke. I don't think Duke will be attractive to them because they don't bring a whole lot from a football. But neither does UVA, though. So, I don't know. Yeah, Ryan is awesome. Yeah, he is awesome. Sports Chat 503, Ryan Winter. Good guy, good show. Craziness. Thank you, Gary. But will Oregon be denied? That's the question. Half Pac going to Big Ten, half Big 12. ACC will poach some ACC schools. What, win, who? No kidding, John. This is craziness. SEC, ACC, Big Ten, wow, money war, we are history. Well, Washington got denied June, so maybe you're not. Washington denied, got a source or link. Football is having seismic shifts at the moment. Guys, if you want to make sure I see your chat, please hit the say something button with the $sign. I'm not going to be on here much longer, but I just can't keep up with these chats. No, it's Wager Investments. Thanks for hopping on. It's not just WVU. We're talking conference realignment, obviously, and all the big news of the day, and where WVU would fit into that. Yes, so it is a West Virginia themed chat. Thanks for hopping on, man. Mark H, you are everywhere. Who's he talking about? Mark H. Oh, yeah. Trey Sargent, thanks for hopping on, man. Hearing rumors that K-State and KU going to Big Ten. K-State's not AAU accredited, so I don't see them going to the Big Ten. Maybe I'm wrong. I just don't see it happening. Cold-blooded power move by USC, UCLA, Stanford, and maybe Cal as a travel partner. What's up, Kenneth Hill, one of my loyal subscribers? Corey says, how can television times work for the West Coast teams playing day games? Well, I mean, the Big 12 is going to be dealing with the same thing, Corey. We're going to have teams in 3 different time zones, man. So TV networks may actually like that because they can put a game on at every time slot. Get Pitt and Louisville? I'd love to. Why would Big Ten go after ACC schools when ACC schools are locked in? Don't make sense unless there's a loophole. And according to my friend John Kelly, he says there is one. Your list is Big Ten, like Pac-Dead, is big on snobby academics, so don't be surprised if me or Cal is dragged along with USC UCLA, Stanford. Watch that development. I don't think the Big Ten's dead. Oh, you're calling the Pac dead. I got you. Yeah, it is crazy times, Wager. Crazy times, my brother. It's definitely not the college football we grew up loving, is it? Definitely not. ACC wants any hope of stability, they better invite WVU and someone else soon, like tomorrow morning. Starting to see reports that Oregon and Washington have reached out to the Big Ten. Yeah, one person on in the chat, Jimmy, said that Washington was actually denied. What if Fox is behind it? You never know. I do know Fox likes our new commissioner. Do you think Pitt joined the Big Ten? It's possible that they're AAU. They're an AAU accredited school, so they meet that requirement. USC dead program can't compete in the Big Boomer. SEC offered membership to FSU years ago, and they turned them down to join the ACC. Florida would not let them in anyways. However, the SEC would welcome Clemson and UNC happily. What about West Virginia, Mark? You think West Virginia has a shot? Because I know we almost got in a few years back. Thank you, Corey. Big Ten would love Duke and Georgia Tech's academics. Watch. And it would get them in the Atlanta market. Georgia Tech gets them in the Atlanta market. Duke would get them in the Raleigh. But I don't see them taking Duke. Would Duke and or UNC or NC State, would any of them leave the other two? Or would they all three go? That's what I'd like to know. Big Ten takes 4 Pac-12 schools. SEC will probably react. I agree, John. That's what I think is going to happen. Would be a dream. Listen, guys, it's 11:45 p.m. Eastern Time. I have been on here for an hour and almost 45 minutes. Your comments, your input, your reactions, your participation has been off the chain. This is by far the largest live stream I've ever done as far as participations go. I really appreciate you. Really appreciate your participation. I do want to hear this real quick. Not sure if they would take the view, even though they are a cultural fit. Would be fun to see in Kentucky. Yeah, it'd be fun. That's what I'm thinking too. I'm gonna try to get these real quick. Maybe if North Carolina joins the SEC, Tar Heel will stop going after WVU. Maybe. I doubt it, Big Ounce. I doubt it. Everybody for themselves. Got to be, man. Everybody for themselves. Will be a decent chance that the SEC went past 20. I agree, John. But I think they'd have to go past 20. Thanks, everybody. I'm jumping off of here, and good night. Let's go Mountaineers. Q Country Roads, baby. Where's the camera? Q Country Roads.